Three tails, old yin. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. This is the trigram Kun Earth to start out with. And then Zen Thunder when it transforms, I believe. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two tails, one head, yang yang. real quick. I mentioned the Sloth rock before. Looks kind of like a sloth. That's an eagle call in the background, by the way. And I mentioned a badger rock, and I had not seen this one, but it just showed up tonight. Usually that's significant when something gets lost and then I find it again. And that represents strength. What's also interesting about after losing this one, I found another one larger, very similar to it, that I've had since, but I've also lost this intermittently as well. And then just today on my table of rocks, I found this guy, which is a little plumpier and smaller, but looks quite similar. If you want to see him in comparison, I'll show you what I mean. Very, very similar shapes. So this, and then this one has a little eye almost on this side, I think it is. I don't know. It's hard to tell on the camera. But anyway, it's like strength under pressure. Inner strength we all should probably be grabbing a hold of right about now. Our primary hexagram, the bottom trigram, will be read as broken, broken, broken. This is Kun Earth. Trigram, Kun Earth. Kun is Earth, open to receive and support what comes to her, providing for its full development. She makes inspiration manifest, gives it form, and sustains its growth. Earth is available to be used, ready to lend her strength to the work without limit. She protects and accepts all things in their totality, present and potential, in an unconditional embrace. Earth is Mother, found in the southwest in the harvest time of late summer and early autumn. And our top trigram will be read as, or outer trigram will be read as, broken, broken, solid. This is the trigram Gen Mountain. The mountain is still. It is a limit where you must stop. Gen brings each cycle to an end, defining a space where we can recognize, assimilate, and complete our experience. He creates a personal still center amid change, where we can retreat for perspective and a firm foundation for new growth. He is well-grounded, confident, and of independent spirit. He is still and knows. Mountain is the youngest son, child of maturity. In the cycle of directions and seasons, he is the northeast, late winter, approaching spring, the pivot between cycles. Gen Mountain above Kun Earth will give us the hexagram. (23). And once our bottom or first line transforms from old yin to young yang, it will give us a trigram of solid, broken, broken, which again is Zen Thunder. Thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. In old Chinese belief, thunder slept in the earth over winter and erupted from it in spring, awakening living things into new growth. Thunder is our basic drive for renewal. He inspires initiative and decisive action. He is the stimulus that sets things in motion. He is the eldest son in the trigram family, the first connection of heaven, potential, with earth, realization. Yang makes itself known here, emerging into the field and beginning to grow. Thunder belongs to the east and to spring. So, Gen Mountain above Zen Thunder give us the supporting hexagram of 27. get the titles to our hexagrams from I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It is quite alchemical in nature, and I am in love with him. Just so we're all clear. 23, I-ming calls stripping away. Submission to desire, acquired mundanity, dissolving away the celestial energy. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all, I-ming calls lower jaw, nourishment, discernment of good, becoming empty to seek fulfillment. We will start out really quickly by getting some I Ching tarot cards to look at the pictures that Kibi did for each of our hexagrams. 23 is this beauty right here. And she calls stripping away, splitting apart. In the booklet, what she says about that. Ring some gongs here. Splitting apart, peeling off, creeping crisis, decline. It gets scratched and peels off without you even realizing it. A situation where you should be aware that a crisis is approaching. At the top is a tree with large fruits. And 27, lower jaw or nourishment. We have this card, which she calls seeking nourishment. Definitely they are doing that. If by they you mean the frogs rather than the flies. Interesting. So, what Kibi has to say regarding seeking nourishment. What do you have to say for yourself, Kibi? Seeking nourishment, peeling off, creeping crisis, decline. Did we read 23 the first time? It says peeling off, creeping crisis, and decline in that one too. I don't know if I see any others that repeat like that. That's really interesting. I feel like that's an error in her book. And we just so happen to have gotten both of the ones that match. Wowzers. Okay. Peeling off, creeping crisis, decline. Peeling off, creeping crisis, decline. Wow. Okay. It is like eating by moving the mandible. The hexagram shape of image seen from opposite sides have the same shape, which means that they can go back and forth between each other. Okay, now we will look at Hilary Barrett's I Ching, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future, which is a nice introductory I Ching commentary, which is also quite profound. When we approach the I Ching to consult the oracle, the question we bring to it will always have the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time. Hexagram 23, Hilary Barrett calls stripping away. Key questions. What has worn out? Is there a less painful way to let this go? What is underneath the surface? Oracle. Stripping away. Fruitless to have a direction to go. The surfaces are cut and sliced away. The old and unviable is stripped back to expose the living core. This inevitable, natural process often feels like a flaying. The more you have invested of yourself in these old things, the more painful it will be. It's no good at such times to imagine the future and make plans. You need to bring your energy back to the center and honor the process. This is a time to be transformed, not to act. Moreover, until the old is so utterly stripped from you that you have no choice but to think in new ways, you will only be able to recreate the old patterns. Image. Mountain rests on the earth, stripping away. The heights are generous, and there are tranquil homes below. The mountain is continually stripped away through erosion, and the valley below it, enriched with fertile soil, becomes a peaceful place for life and growth. This is a picture of stripping away at its highest potential. As a constant, gradual, natural, and painless process, everything that is built up, power or achievement, or the edifice of self and identity, must continually erode away. It leaves behind an enriched inner world and a quiet sense of being at home here. Sequence. Stripping away follows from Hexagram 22, beauty. Involved in brightening the appearance, this means success will be truly exhausted, and so stripping away follows. Creating a true image and expression of the inner essence is good, necessary work. But when that essence has left, expending more energy trying to prop up the old image is futile and exhausting. Pair. Stripping away forms a pair with Hexagram 24, returning. Stripping away, rotten. Returning, turn around. Dead wood is pruned back with a sharp knife, and sap returns to the living root for new growth. When the old things end, a new direction opens up, a new cycle begins. Indeed. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, the direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all, Hilary Barrett calls nourishment. Key questions. What would nourish you? How is your hunger motivating you? If you accept this as nourishment, who will you become? Oracle. Nourishment. Constancy brings good fortune. See the jaws, your own quest for something real to fill your mouth. Literally, this hexagram is called jaws. It means not only what you eat, but all the processes and structures that sustain nourishment. It includes all forms of nourishment: physical, social, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, all creating and recreating an individual ecosystem to sustain and shape you. Constancy brings good fortune, steady, clear persistence in honoring what truly sustains you. Yi calls on you to see the jaws, to become aware. How do you habitually nourish yourself and others? What deep instincts are at work here? What real nourishment are you seeking? Image. Below the mountain is thunder, nourishment. A noble one reflects on his words in conversation and is discriminating about what he eats and drinks. The sound of thunder under the mountain echoes and re-echoes and is slow to fade away. The words you speak are the same. You put them into circulation and they become part of the constant flow of nourishment among people, the same flow that nourishes you in the end. The Noble One pays careful attention to both giving and receiving, how he nourishes others, and what he will accept as nourishment from others. You don't have to swallow every opinion you are offered. Sequence. Nourishment follows from Hexagram 26, Great Taming. Things are tamed, and so there can be nurturing, and so nourishment follows. Nourishment means nurturing. Naturally, to nourish people, you need good farmers. The truths you choose to nurture and cultivate in your life become the foundation of your personal ecosystem. They are your basic nourishment and the energy source for your creative action. Pair. Nourishment is paired and contrasted with Hexagram 28, Great Exceeding. Nourishment nurtures correctly. Great Exceeding overbalances. To grow into your whole self, you create a harmonious, balanced cycle of mutual nourishment. Yet this growth will eventually outgrow the framework that sustained it. God damn. Cheers to that. All right. Our changing line 1 puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here some places you may find yourself, takes precedence over all other elements, and is the most focused point of the reading. Changing line 1 has the general context, inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. So our primary hexagram 23, changing line 1. Again, 23, Hilary Barrett calls stripping away. Changing line 1, stripping away the bed by way of its supports. To disregard constancy, pitfall. The stable, secure thing you rest on is undermined. Its foundations that supported and validated your inner knowledge are taken away. The great danger here is of ignoring that inner knowledge altogether. Let me reread that. The great danger here is of ignoring that inner knowledge altogether, devaluing it in an anxious search for external confirmation. When external supports are taken away, this is a time to honor your autonomy, your principles, and what you know all the more. If you have cultivated inner truth, grab a hold of that son bitch and hold tight. Hexagram 23 in Liu I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It is quite alchemical in nature. Stripping away. Stripping away does not make it beneficial to go anywhere. Explanation. Stripping away is dissolving. As to the qualities of the hexagram, above is mountain, stopping, below is earth, following. Yin grows as it goes along and yang stops. Furthermore, in the body of the hexagram, there are 5 yins which have dissolved it down to 1 yang. The yang energy is about to be exhausted and the yin energy is about to become pure. Therefore, it is called stripping away. This hexagram represents acquired yin dissolving yang. It follows on the previous hexagram, biting through. In biting through, action requires understanding, so we first investigate principle. Investigating principle means investigating the principle of waning and waxing of yin and yang. People are born with 5 elementary combinations of yin and yang from heaven and earth. Once they have life, they have essence. Essence and life reside in one body. When people are first born, essence and life are one. The primordial and the temporal are merged into one. Yin and yang are as yet undivided. Wrong and right are as yet not distinguished. They are the image of wholeness. Then as they grow up and their energy becomes full, the primordial yang culminates and mixes with acquired conditioning. one yin surreptitiously arises. Then as the days and years go by, yin energy gradually grows, and yang energy gradually weakens. Until it wanes completely, yang energy does not stop. This is like the body of this hexagram, which 5 yins have stripped down to 1 yang. At this point, yang cannot overcome yin. What remains is very slight yang. If people do not know this and still take the false for the real and go somewhere to do something relying on their strength, they will surely come to the complete exhaustion of yang energy, which is very detrimental. Here, developed people have a way to suppress yin and enhance yang, which does not let yin energy dissolve yang completely away. That is where this one point of yang energy is not yet exhausted. They accord with it and stabilize it, getting rid of intellectualism, shutting out conditioning influences, and returning to the fundamental, original foundation. What does not allow yang to avoid turning to yin is the circulating energy mechanism of heaven and earth. Yet what is able to preserve yang in the midst of yin is the power of the practice of reverse operation of sages. Since sages have a path that is before time and yet not violated by nature, they can use it to usurp creation and turn life and death around. As for ordinary people, they go along with the course of creation, which strips away yang by yin. When yang energy has waned away and become pure yin, how can they not die? At the one hexagram stripping away, the sage has simply said that it is not beneficial to go anywhere. Any who value essence in life would do well to understand this right away. In our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all, 27, I-ming calls the lower jaw, or nourishment. In nourishment, it is good to be correct. Observe nourishment and seek fulfillment for the mouth by yourself. Explanation. The lower jaw moves whenever the mouth eats something. From that, it has the meaning of nourishing people. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is mountain, still, and below is thunder, active. Action does not depart from stillness. Stillness nurtures action. Action is not random. Stillness is not vain. Action and stillness unified, it is therefore called nourishment. This hexagram represents choosing good and holding fast to it, becoming empty to seek fulfillment. It follows on the previous hexagram, fidelity. Fidelity involves strong action. Without the work of care and nurturance, action and strength cannot be appropriate, and fidelity thus errs. This is why the path of nourishment is important. Nourishment means nourishing what is right and getting rid of what is not right. What is right is beneficial to body and mind. What is not right is harmful to body and mind. Therefore, the path of nourishment requires correctness to be good. So if you want nourishment to be correct, first you must observe whether the way of nourishment is true or false. Observing does not mean looking with the eyes. It means distinguishing in the mind what is so and what is not so, in order to find out truth. When truth is clear, then with real knowledge and lucid perception, in action one cultivates what is right, and in stillness one nourishes what is right. When one attains what is properly nurtured in both action and stillness, one can thereby seek fulfillment by oneself. It does not say seek food for the mouth, it says seek fulfillment for the mouth. It does not merely say seek fulfillment for the mouth, it says seek fulfillment for the mouth by yourself. This means what is sought is what is right, and what is fulfilled is what is important. It is not a matter of rich food, it is a matter of benevolence, justice, and enlightened qualities. But the way to fill oneself with benevolence and justice and taste enlightened qualities is all in seeking by oneself, not relying on others. One day when you conquer yourself and return to true order, the whole world will revert to humanity. If you seek fulfillment, you find fulfillment. If you seek food, you find food. It is simply a matter of what you seek for yourself. The mouth is something empty inside. Fulfillment means satisfying, filling. Emptying the mind, filling the belly. Emptiness and fullness correspond. When the time calls for action, you act, actively furthering yang. When the time calls for stillness, you remain still, quietly using yin. Cultivating the external by action, nurturing the internal by stillness, unconstrained by action or stillness, inwardly and outwardly merging with the Tao, stillness as ever nurturing, action also nurturing, action and stillness consistently correct. Ultimately, one can perfectly attain the great Tao, auspiciously completing it. Those who consider the harm of hunger and thirst to be harmful to the mind all nurture the small and lose the great. This could be called seeking food by oneself, but it could hardly be called seeking fulfillment by oneself. Once one has lost true fulfillment, how could it be called nourishment? And our changing line, which puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself, takes precedence over all other elements and is the most focused part of the reading. Changing line 1 has the general context, inklings just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Changing line 1 of our primary hexagram 23, stripping away. Stripping a bed of the legs. Destroying rectitude brings misfortune. Explanation. Yin surreptitiously arising, dissolving yang from the bottom, is like stripping a bed of its legs. The stripping away of the legs of the bed may be slight in terms of energy, but the harm is very great. The misfortune of destroying correctness begins here. This is stripping away in which yin energy has just begun its advance. And we will also look at the commentary sections of each of our hexagrams, which often are the most alchemical in nature. 23, again, stripping. Mountain above, earth below. Mountains are joined to the earth. Those above secure their homes by kindness to those below. Stripping means removing. Above is mountain, below is earth. Mountains are joined to the earth. Mountains are high, the earth is low. Joining mountains to the earth, the excess of the high is removed and the insufficiency of the low is fulfilled. This is the image of stripping. What those in high positions see in this is that just as mountains cannot be stable unless they are joined to the earth, those in high positions cannot be secure unless they are kind to those below them. Therefore, they take away from the high and give to the low, to enable those below to find their places. This is because the people are the basis of the country. When the basis is secure, the country is at peace. Then those in high positions can also live peacefully in their homes and administer non-coercive government. Wouldn't that be cool? Among practitioners of the Tao, those with capacity and knowledge are the high ones, and those without capacity or knowledge are the low ones. When those who have capacity do not presume upon it, and those who have knowledge do not depend on it, and they take their excess of capacity and knowledge and pass it on to those lacking in capacity and knowledge, joining the high to the low, being fulfilled but dwelling in emptiness, then elevation is true elevation. Fulfillment is true fulfillment. They transform the artificial into reality, rest in ultimate good unwavering, and abide securely in their homes, invulnerable to external influences. The secure home for humans is benevolence, taking from those above to give to those below. When the inversion is made, stripping changes into return. Having returned, it is possible to rely on benevolence. The mechanism of enlivening operates, and nature and life are secured. In securing their homes by kindness to those below, the celestial mechanism is finally revealed. The imagery there is the mountains being stripped away and eroded and bringing nourishment into the valleys below and giving them the ability to grow whatever. Our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Lower jaw, nourishment. In nourishment, it is good to be correct. Observe nourishment and seek fulfillment for the mouth by yourself. Explanation. The lower jaw moves whenever the mouth eats something. From that, it has the meaning of nourishing people. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is mountain, still, and below is thunder, active. Action does not depart from... Oh, I am so sorry. Went right to where we read before, and I just noticed it just now. This other one's going to be shorter, I promise. Yep. Jaws. Mountain above, thunder below. There's thunder beneath the mountain. Superior people are careful about what they say and moderate in eating and drinking. Jaws has the meaning of taking nourishment. Above is mountain, below is thunder. There's thunder beneath the mountain. A mountain is still, thunder is active. Using stillness to nurture activity. Activity being based on stillness is like the upper jaw being still while the lower jaw moves. Stillness awaiting movement. This is the image of jaws, meaning nourishment. What the superior people see in this is that the mouth is a passageway through which things may exit or enter, and it is the door of right and wrong, the root of calamity and fortune. Therefore, they are careful about what they say, and they are moderate in eating and drinking. Speech is the voice of the mind. When speech is correct, the mind is correct, and when speech is incorrect, the mind is incorrect. Every word should be spoken only if it is of benefit to the course of the world and to people's minds. Speech should be guarded and not uttered at random. Food and drink are important to the body. If food and drink are appropriate, they benefit the body, and if food and drink are not appropriate, they harm the body. Food and drink should be taken only after consideration of the reason. One should not crave too much and should be moderate in eating and drinking. When one is careful of speech, then the mind has nourishment. When one is moderate in eating and drinking, then the body has nourishment. When mind and body both have their nourishment, inside and outside are free from injury, then nature and life can be cultivated. This is what is meant by the saying, when one eats at proper times, the body is healthy. When one acts at the appropriate moment, the course of affairs runs smoothly. And getting right into James Dekorne's Gnostic Book of Changes, which often makes things a little bit more clear, in that he synthesizes several I Ching commentaries here, and so you get to see it through a bunch of different lenses, and he goes ahead and gives his own summary at the end, as well as quotes from things like the Kabbalah and Carl Jung, stuff like that. He calls hexagram 23 disintegration, our primary hexagram. Other titles might be splitting apart, the symbol of falling or flaying, peeling off, decay, flaying, stripping away, intrigue, deterioration, collapse, fracturing, tearing, disintegration, ruin, unraveling. A quote from D.F. Hook can refer to a physical parting, making a secure foundation. Judgment, leg. Yeah, stripping away. Yeah, okay. Disintegration, judgment, leg. Disintegration means that it is not advantageous to make a movement in any direction whatever. Wilhelm/Bane, splitting apart. It does not further one to go anywhere. Blowfold, peeling off. At present, there is no goal or destination which can be sought with advantage. Peeling off in the sense of getting rid of hindrances or hinderers, one after another. The first 4 lines of this hexagram symbolize a process of ridding ourselves progressively of all those upon whom we are accustomed to rely, for the powers of darkness are in the ascendant and no one can be trusted. However, in the long run, virtue triumphs, as indicated by line 5, and ultimately we are all the more esteemed for our steadfastness, as can be seen from line 6. Lu, decay. It is unfavorable to undertake anything. Ritzum/Karcher, stripping, not harvesting, possessing, directed, going. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of something outmoded or worn out. It emphasizes that eliminating what has become unusable is the adequate way to handle it. The image, leg. The image of a mountain adhering to the earth forms disintegration. Superiors therefore strengthen their inferiors to secure the peace and stability of their own position. Wilhelm/Baines, the mountain rests on the earth, the image of splitting apart. Thus those above can ensure their position only by giving generously to those below. Blowfold, this hexagram symbolizes a mountain resting upon the earth. The truly great shower generosity upon those under them to enable them to live in peace and comfort. The upper and lower trigrams, mountain and earth, symbolize the superior man and the people in his care. Lu, the mountain stands on the earth, symbolizing decay. Those above should act with benevolence toward those below. Then there will be peace and security. Cleary 1, mountains are joined to the earth. Those above secure their homes by kindness to those below. Wu, the mountain is subordinated to the earth. This is tearing. Thus, those above treat those below with liberal rewards to secure their own positions. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. Disintegration means overthrowing or being overthrown. The magnetic lines attack the dynamic line at the top in order to change it into one of themselves. It is unwise to move in any direction because inferior elements are now increasing in power. The superior man, observing this, stops all forward movement. He defers to the exigency of the time, realizing that increase and decrease, ripeness and decay are cyclical rhythms. Leg. Disintegration is the symbol of falling or causing to fall and refers to the process of decay or overthrow in both the natural and political worlds. The figure consists of 5 yin lines below and 1 yang line on top. Decay has begun at the bottom and crept upward. The hexagram symbolizes the 9th month when summer has passed and the year is about to fall into the sterile arms of winter. In the political world, inferior men have gradually displaced good men until only one remains. The lesson for him is to wait because the power operating against him is too strong. Eventually, a change for the better will appear. The specific image is that of a bed and its occupant, and the symbolism describes the attempts made to overthrow him. The lower trigram of docility and the upper trigram of keeping still suggest to the superior man of line 6 how he can best deal with the prevailing circumstances. The situation is not hopeless. Winter is followed by spring, night by day, and the waning moon soon grows full again. So will it be in the course of human affairs. The idea behind the image is that a mountain has the earth for its foundation. If the earth is thick, the mountain preserves its height. So it is with the sovereign and the people. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Disintegration means do not act. The superior man stabilizes his responses and seeks tranquility. The 23rd hexagram is the inverse of return, the hexagram immediately following it. Each figure depicts an opposite pole in a cyclic progression. Here, the old cycle has disintegrated to the point of dissolution. I'll read that again. Here, the old cycle has disintegrated to the point of dissolution. The following hexagram depicts the return to the beginning of a new cycle. The first 4 lines of disintegration show the gradual erosion of a position or frame of reference, symbolized by a bed or couch. The inferior forces creep up from below like termites to undermine a solid foundation. The 5th line shows a gathering of forces for a potentially positive transformation, and the top line suggests the first stages of this transformation. The implication is that times of disintegration needn't always be regarded as negative or a foregone conclusion. We still have the choice to alter conditions in our favor. That the superior man strengthens his inferiors to ensure the stability of his position means that one stabilizes one's psychological situation by diffusing the causes of rebellion. Safeguard the foundation where it is weak. Hexagram number 43, resoluteness, is a negative picture of this figure, and the message in the image is very similar. The superior man does not hoard his wealth, but shares it with his subordinates. The idea is subtle. It doesn't mean to indulge your weaknesses, but to monitor them encouragingly so that they may become transformed into positive forces. Quote from James Dekorne in Sub-Personalities. Whenever we go deep enough toward the core of a sub-personality, we find that the core, which is some basic urge or need, is good. For practical purposes, this can be considered an absolute. No matter how many layers of distortion may surround it, the basic need, the basic motivation is a good one. And if it becomes twisted, it was because of not being able to express itself directly. The real core, not what the sub-personality wants, but what it needs, is good. A basic purpose of the coordination phase is to discover this central urge or need, to make it conscious, and to find acceptable ways in which it can be satisfied and fulfilled. And provided we have sufficient understanding and skill, it can be satisfied, if not fully, at least enough to maintain the process of growth. And our supporting hexagram 27, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. James Dekorne calls nourishment. Other titles might be the corners of the mouth, providing nourishment, the symbol of cheek and of nourishment, symbol of the cheek and of nourishment, jaws, lower jaw, nurturing, swallowing, sagacious counsel, or sagacious, sagacious, never seen that word in my life. And nourishing, to feed, can mean money, usually as the result of effort, was what DF quote said. Judgment, leg. Nourishment indicates good fortune through firm correctness. Make sure you know what you are feeding and determine your proper diet. Wilhelm Baines, the corners of the mouth. Perseverance brings good fortune. Pay heed to the providing of nourishment and to what a man seeks to fill his own mouth with. Blowfold, nourishing. Nourishment, literally jaws. The form of this hexagram readily brings to mind the concept of wide open jaws. But the word nourishment must not be taken only in a literal sense, for we are concerned here with all those things which men seek, both for their own advantage and for giving succor or assistance to others. Righteous persistence brings good fortune. Watch people nourishing others and observe with what manner of things they seek to nourish themselves, for this will teach us a lot about their characters. Lu, nourishment. Continuing leads to good fortune. Observe the providing of nourishment and the food someone seeks for himself. Ritzema/Karcher, jaws, trial significant, viewing jaws, originating from seeking mouth substance. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of nourishing and being nourished. It emphasizes that opening, in order to take things in as well as providing to others, is the adequate way to handle it. Just had a video that I put out called Open Up and Flow. Lots of energy on the way. I recommend checking that out. That coordinates with that really well. They are of a kind. Slothnessy jaws, determination is auspicious. View the jaw, oneself seeking the mouth's fullness. Anywho, the image, leg, the image of thunder under a mountain forms nourishment. The superior man, in accordance with this, controls his speech and regulates his eating and drinking. Wilhelm/Baines, at the foot of the mountain, thunder, the image of the corners of the mouth. Thus, the superior man is careful in his words and temperate in eating and drinking. Blowfold, this hexagram symbolizes thunder rumbling at the foot of a mountain. The superior man is thoughtful in speech and frugal in his eating and drinking. The lower trigram thunder also represents the power of quickening growth, hence its place in a hexagram concerned with nourishment. Lu, thunder rolling around the foot of the mountain is the symbol of nourishment. The superior man is cautious in his speech. He restrains and regulates his eating and drinking. Ritsuma/Karcher, below mountain possessing thunder, jaws, a Chunsu or chief son or superior person, uses considering words to inform. A Chunsu uses articulating to drink and take in. Clary 2, leaders are prudent in speech, moderate in consumption. Wu, there is thunder below the mountain, this is nurturing. Thus the Chunsi or chief son or superior person speaks with caution and drinks and eats with moderation. Commentary. Confucius/Leg, when the nourishing is correct, there will be good fortune. We must examine those who we wish to nourish, and we must also examine our own nourishing of ourselves. Heaven and earth nourish all things. The sages nourish men of talent and virtue in order to reach the masses. Great is the work intended in the time of nourishing. I'm going to read that section again. The sages nourish men of talent and virtue in order to reach the masses. Great is the work intended in the time of nourishing. Leg. The character of nourishment is the symbol of the upper jaw, but the image of the hexagram suggests a whole mouth with undivided lines at top and bottom and divided lines between them. The bottom line is in the trigram of movement and the top line is in the trigram of keeping still, giving the image of a mobile lower jaw and a fixed upper jaw. The divided lines represent the mouth cavity. The hexagram denotes nourishing of body or mind, of oneself or others, and the proper nourishment in each case must necessarily vary according to circumstances. Thus, judgment must be exercised to determine which nourishment is in harmony with correctness and virtue. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Nourishment asks you to examine your motives in the allocation of your energy. Willpower creates a well-balanced apportionment. Willpower creates a well-balanced apportionment. The superior man controls his expression and monitors his appetites. The lines in the lower trigram of movement are all rendered unfavorably to one degree or another, while the lines of the upper trigram of keeping still are all generally correct. The implication is that non-action is almost always preferable to movement. This idea is fundamental to the philosophy of the I Ching, and in the hexagram of nourishment, the lesson is that non-action feeds and strengthens the psyche. All actions are the expression of psychic energy through his physical body to create an effect in space-time. Each effect creates consequences which usually demand further action. It is easy to see that action which is not initiated by the self can only result in unexpected consequences, and that action which conforms to the will of the self is motivated by and directed toward a transcendent goal. Although correct, non-action generally creates no negative consequences in space-time. It does have nourishing consequences in the psyche as autonomous forces are gathered, digested, assimilated, and renewed in ascending configurations of growth. A quote from Gareth Knight in Kabbalistic Symbolism: as this path represents the structure of the ego, the attribution of the mouth reminds us that the purpose of incarnation is the seeking of the food of experience in form for the benefit of the self and the spirit. Suggestions for meditation. Compare the image of nourishment in this hexagram with those in hexagram number 5, waiting, number 48, the well, and number 50, the sacrificial vessel. Next, we will look at our changing line 1, which puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here some places you may find yourself, takes precedence over all other elements, and is the most focused point of the reading. Changing line 1 has the general context, inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Hexagram 23, changing line 1. Leg. The first line, magnetic, shows one overturning the couch by injuring its legs. The injury will go on to the destruction of all firm correctness, and there will be evil. Wilhelm/Baines, the leg of the bed is split. Those who persevere are destroyed. Misfortune. Blowfold. He starts the peeling off at the foot of the bed. There is no steadfastness. Misfortune. Lou, the legs of the bed are rotting. If one continues despite this, misfortune. Slothnessy, flaying the good together with the legs. Determination about the military is inauspicious. Cleary, 2, destroying uprightness, etc. Wu, he tears down the legs of the bed without regard to what is correct. It will be foreboding. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. Thus she commences her work of ruin with what is lowest in the superior man. Wilhelm/Baines, the leg of the bed is split in order to destroy those below. Blowfold, this implies ridding ourselves of those below. Because he finds them unworthy, what is said in the various lines about the foot, edge, and mattress of the bed means that he is obliged to continue the peeling off process until he reaches those very close to himself. There is no one left whom he can trust to help him in his work of righteousness. Ritzema/Karcher, below using submerging indeed. Cleary 2, he is destroying the foundation. In contemplating mind, this refers to removing the foundation of discipline. Wu, he destroys the underpinning. Leg, the attempt in line 1 is made by commencing with the legs of the couch. The symbolism goes on to explain itself. The object of the evil worker is the overthrow of all firm correctness. Of course there will be evil. Notes and paraphrases. Sue, at the outset, the superior men around the ruler are being undermined by the slander and intrigue of inferior men on their destructive path. All that can be done is to be patient while the evil continues. Wing, your position is being undermined. Persons of inferior persuasions have entered the situation from below and are creating an environment for deterioration. The time bodes evil for persons of integrity. All you can do is patiently wait. Editor, a bed is a resting place, a context or matrix, as the bed of a river. The legs of a bed are its support or foundation. Thus, the injury or disintegration of the legs is synonymous with not having a leg to stand on. The image suggests the destruction of a fundamental premise which is essential for correct behavior. A quote from Swedenborg, that a bed signifies doctrine is from correspondence. For as the body rests in its bed, so does the mind rest in its doctrine. So it's like a stripping away of your very doctrine. James Dekorne breaks changing line 1 down into 2 possible succinct definitions, A and B. A, your assumptions are unfounded. To continue in error brings unfortunate consequences. And B, destructive forces are active. To pursue your present course is to feed their intent. We will get a randomly card drawn verse from the Tao Te Ching while we sum the reading up. Our primary hexagram 23, stripping away, has Kun Earth below Gen Mountain, and Gen Mountain is kind of like the idea of the sage, and Kun Earth is kind of like the idea of the people below that he nourishes, bringing in the nourishing hexagram 27, our supporting hexagram. And also in stripping away, there's the idea of nourishment, because the stripping away of this mountain feeds fertile soil and nutrients to the valley below. And it also talks about how those in government can keep their places by feeding and taking care of those below. If the whole country is supported by the people, then it's necessary to have thicker earth there, or the image of more well taken care of populace. Also, in that, there's the idea of all the yin lines, probably false yin lines, stripping away of all the yang lines until there's only one left. And the advice was not go anywhere or act on anything, that there was no auspicious thing that could be done at the time. So just complete non-action is required, essentially. But what could be done, I suppose, if something could be done, is the trying to stabilize that last yang line. With nourishment, it asks us, if you accept this as nourishment, what will you become? That's what Hilary Barrett asks. That's actually probably one of my favorite questions in all of the questions that she asks, and I think it is very profound. In nourishment, we've got Gen Mountain above Zen thunder, and so thunder rumbling about at the base of this mountain. And the idea is that the top trigram stays still while the lower trigram moves up and down in this image, like a jaw chewing on food or something. And with nourishment, let me look at Hilary Barrett. Literally, this hexagram is called jaws. It means not only what you eat, but all the processes and structures that sustain nourishment. It includes all forms of nourishment: physical, social, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, all creating and recreating an individual ecosystem to sustain and shape you. Constancy brings good fortune, steady, clear persistence in honoring what truly sustains you. Yi calls on you to see the jaws, to become aware. How do you habitually nourish yourself and others? What deep instincts are at work here? What real nourishment are you seeking? In combination with the last I Ching reading, and then the one that was the collaboration between Trish and Helen and I, where we did an I Ching reading there. Then also before that, there is this idea being brought out of self-examination and looking inward, and seeing what things should be stripped away, kind of like that primary hexagram we got, stripping away, and really evaluating what we're accepting as nourishment, those kinds of things, and also an importance on based on the times of not acting at this time, but to turn inward. And our changing line 1 that puts in a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here some places you may find yourself, takes precedence over all other elements and is the most focused part of the reading. Again, James Dekorne says of it, breaking it down into 2 possible succinct definitions, A and B. Your assumptions are unfounded. To continue in error brings unfortunate consequences. And B, destructive forces are active. To pursue your present course is to feed their intent. And in this notes and paraphrases section says, a bed is a resting place. Context in the image, this bed has its legs broken off. A bed is a resting place, a context or matrix, as the bed of a river. The legs of the bed are its support or foundation. Thus, the injury or disintegration of the legs is synonymous with not having a leg to stand on. The image suggests the destruction of a fundamental premise which is essential for correct behavior. And the quote from Swedenborg, that a bed signifies doctrine is from correspondence, for as the body rests in its bed, so does the mind rest in its doctrine. it did appear as though the goal of the stripping away was one of destruction and evil. And so this stripping away was a process that was providing nourishment, and maybe is something that's going on subconsciously, where there's like a dumping out of all unneeded, unintegrated, collaborative elements that are pouring out. And there should be a stoppage if possible, due to the very foundation of this bed that all of the things are resting on being toppled. I imagine like a building coming down. And a lot of stuff in our world now is collapsing, is what it feels like, in a way, where charades are being seen through. But in another sense, there's also the idea that there's a factor here of negative influence that is causing some erosion of beneficial elements. So, that being said, we should evaluate the things that are being stripped away and hold to the things that are very, very important to us at this time. In the stripping away, James Dekorne also quoted somebody that was really, really great here, talking about my girl, my girl. Don't quit my day job. The hexagram denotes nourishing of body or mind, of one's self or others, and the proper nourishment in each case must necessarily vary according to circumstances. Thus, judgment must be exercised to determine which nourishment is in harmony with correctness and virtue. This idea is fun. The implication is that non-action is almost always preferable to movement. This idea is fundamental to the philosophy of the I-ming. And in the hexagram of nourishment, the lesson is that non-action feeds and strengthens the psyche. Although correct non-action generally creates no negative consequences in space-time, it does have nourishing consequences in the psyche as autonomous forces are gathered, digested, assimilated, and renewed in ascending configurations of growth. There was something before this, though, that I thought was amazing. Here it is. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of nourishing and being nourished. It emphasizes that opening in order to take things in, as well as providing to others, is the adequate way to handle it. And so normally it's to be in accord with the time you are told to blah, blah, blah. Here, that would be opening. And I mentioned that the video that I just did is called Open Up and Flow. Lots of energy on the way. But yeah, I think with this stripping going on, the easiest way to deal with that would be to open up and allow it to remove things, and yet hold on to that vital, essential essence that we must maintain, if possible, and not have stripped away. And it also might be a process where we're trying to figure out what that essential essence is, even. And the things that are not necessarily desires, but our needs. What could be quantified as a general human need. If we can look at this across the board, not just the things that we'd like for ourselves, but what kind of things, if there's a stripping going on, across the board, if that were the case, what might you want for all of humanity? What kind of things are essential? And to know that things move in cycles, so that just as the moon wanes, it will again wax, and I hope that I got those right. But yeah, it'll become full again in the fullness of time, so to speak. Trying to think if there's anything else that comes to mind with all this. I think it's interesting that the stripping away has a nourishing effect for the valley below, and our supporting hexagram is nourishment. I think of like fertilizer, it's the excrement of a creature, and yet it provides nourishment for, so the excrement of our times might be a nourishment for us, in that something you might consider completely useless in terms of ridiculous affairs going on the global scale. But what it is providing us with is a soil that is potentially replete with nutrients, and something that might be able to be looked at. When things get dislodged, that's a really good time to analyze them, or to see them when they come up. If you're triggered by events or anything in your life, it's a perfect opportunity to take a really deep look into that and see why that's happening, maybe, and also what it means that you believe that potentially could be weakening you. And also, how might the external situations in our world be a reflection of maybe some of the same areas we're being triggered in by seeing some of the things going on in the world? How might we interact with those energies, if you want to say that, put it that way? And then the onus is definitely on us to take a look at the process of stripping away and find out what we want stripped away and what we don't internally. And that if we're being triggered a lot, or having nervous system reactions, we have an opportunity to balance out that ratio of attachment to detachment, and maybe even a better understanding of the things that we do need versus the things that it would help us to have be purged of. We'll read verse 9 of the Tao Te Ching. My copy is by Jia Fu Feng and Jane English. Better stop short than fill to the brim. Over sharpen the blade, and the edge will soon blunt. Amass a store of gold and jade, and no one can protect it. Claim wealth and titles, and disaster will follow. Retire when the work is done. This is the way of heaven.